Hello everyone, how are you doing today? This is the beginning of the week, hoping that you are having a good time starting it full of energy. This is 36 News, your news fully in English. I am Ricardo Acuña and the following are our top stories. Request from Morocco to assist the victims of Friday's historic earthquake that has killed over 2,000 people. Thank you for joining us. You are watching 36 News. Let's get the information started here. A man had to be emergency transferred to the San Juan de Dios hospital after having received a shot in his head early this Monday in the Rincon Grande sector in Pavas. Until the cause of the attack is unknown, however, when the Red Cross arrived at the site, they found a man about 26 years old wounded. The case is under the investigation by the Judicial Investigation Agency. Also, a man identified as Kenneth Josue Chavez Gamboa lost his life when another shot him with a firearm this Sunday in Pérez Celedón. According to the authorities, the men would have had an argument in a public street when the now suspect took out a firearm and shot him, wounding him in his abdomen. Chavez died at the Fernando Escalante Padilla Hospital. 4 people identified with the surnames Bolaños Araya, Ortiz Dimas, Morales Dimas, and Hernandez Hernandez should spend 3 months in the preventive prison as suspect of committing the crime of drug sale. According to the authorities, the group used at least 3 properties located in La Cañada Alajuela, where it is believed they store narcotic drugs, weapons, and money. A motorcyclist had to be emergency transferred to the Rio Frio clinic after he was hit by a vehicle in the Ticari sector in Heredia. According to the Red Cross, as a result of the misspace, the man was injured in several parts of his body. At the moment, the causes of that originated the accident are unknown. And thanks to the quick actions of an employee who works at a PO shop in Nicoya, Guanacaste, he was able to prevent 2 criminals from entering to steal. As seen in the images of a security video, 2 men arrived on a motorcycle, and the employee took advantage of the fact that one of the assailants' gun was jammed and took out his own gun to protect himself against them. The judicial authorities are trying to find the whereabouts of the 2 men on the motorcycle. Let's see the images one more time.
Auto. Ok. Ella le dice mala, ponerle color amarillo. Y en realidad es. Le puede poner dorado, pero. Ok, ¿qué más? Ves que ahí donde se asume y el otro salió corriendo. La loca salió corriendo.
The Judicial Investigation Agency arrested 3 men and 2 women linked to home robberies in San Jose. They are associated with at least 11 other homes invasions that occurred during the months of June, July, and August in the areas of Guadalupe and Moravia. Apparently, these individuals enter during the night while the owners are sleeping and take whatever valuable items they can find. All these suspects have an extensive police record and are under the orders of the public ministry awaiting to know their legal situation. And this past Sunday, dozens of Limonenses got together in the main streets of Limon to ask for peace in this province. Several civil activist groups called for this march because Limon continues to lead with the highest numbers of homicides in our country, with more than 155 so far this year. They started in the Roosevelt neighborhood and ended on the esplanade of the Catholic Church. Those who participated dressed in white and held posters and banners with messages of peace. The purpose of this event was to also show, according to its organizers, that this Caribbean province is more than a negative number of homicides, and that there are people who believe in peace and want peace as well. Several government officials went to visit the border of Panama in Paso Canoas over the weekend to analyze the situation with the flow of migrants, which is about 3,500 migrants entering per day. It was announced as part of the measures that they are going to change the point of entry for the migrants in order to guarantee a more orderly flow. The Ministry of Public Works and Transportation detailed that they will continue working with the bus companies that currently have a special permission to transport migrants and will analyze other options to optimize the service they provide. And the first Costa Rican student to run with the Central American Torch of Freedom on September 13 is the Guanacasteca Angelica Maria Guevara Obando. She is in 8th grade at the La Cruz High School and was selected to run because she was the highest overall grade point average in her school. The Torch of Freedom will arrive in Costa Rica, in Costa Rican land, on Wednesday, September 13 at 11 a.m. Congratulations to this amazing student. Children and young people who attend the Lantern Parade in the Canton of La Cruz will be able to participate in the competition for the best lantern design organized by the Municipality of La Cruz, Guanacaste. Those interested in being part of the contest will be evaluated by a jury who will be selecting one lantern by category, among which stand out primary, secondary, and community in general. In addition, students should take into account that to make their lantern, they have to use reusable or recyclable material, such as paper, cardboard, plastic, bottles, among others. The finalists of the three categories will be announced once the lantern parade finishes, since the honors will be called and those with highest scores will be the winners. And how is the weather behaving in your location? Let me tell you the projection for the next hours. This Monday we had humid conditions that, together with the position of the intertropical convergence zone and other local factors, we had reoccurring precipitations throughout the day in the Pacific Northern Zone and the Central Valley, according to the report from the National Meteorological Institute. For this Monday, local factors such as high morning temperatures as well as the entry of sea breezes together with the proximity of the intertropical convergence zone to our country, some variable rains are projected throughout the national territory, particularly the regions of the Central Pacific, where there will even be thunderstorms, mainly in the afternoon and the evening hours. In the case of the Central Valley, we will have some isolated showers, but mainly to the north and west of this region. A similar situation is projected in the Caribbean and the northern area, especially in the mountainous areas. And trammel nets were found in the new Boca sector of the Terraba Sierpe wetland, which were destroying the biodiversity of the South Pacific. More than 100 meters of the illegal trammel nets will be transformed into plastic wood at the Coast Guard Station and will be used to manufacture ramps. This Monday and Tuesday, the lane to San Jose Cartago will be regulated in the La Galera sector due to the expansion work that is being done, so the road closure will be applied from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. And to facilitate easier access for people who are preparing to travel to Guanacaste or Punta Arenas to enjoy the Independence Day weekend, the Transit Police and the Route 27 concessionaire will enable two-way traffic on that road for Sunday, September 17. The Costa Rican Medical Insurance Company started the process of training its employees to use the new integrated management system, specifically in the digitalization of documents and the automatic process that will speed up the management of the staff throughout the country. After being closed for more than 16 hours, Route 32 finally opened for the traffic to pass through. According to the Ministry of Public Works and Transportation and the National Road Council, materials and debris fell at kilometers 28 and 33. Today, in the early morning hours, the officials conducted an evaluation of the area to ensure the safety of all drivers. However, please remember that you can take alternate routes such as the National Route 10, Los Bajos de Chilomate and Sarapiquí through Barra Blanca. This past Friday, the Minister Luis Amador addressed the study that was published by LANAME regarding the current conditions of Route 23 in Caldera, which in recent days has been affected by the strong waves. According to the Minister, these reports do not create value in terms of solutions. From the position of this entity, it is easy to talk about a road that has evidently been affected. For the Ministry of Public Works and Transportation, it is necessary to come up with solutions that not only solve the problem temporarily, but can also last for several years, since the invest for this type of works is very expensive. The Guanacaste Airport and the United Nations Children's Organization UNICEF joined forces to invite tourists to become affiliated with the support programs for the children of Costa Rica. The airport opened its doors to the UNICEF team and created a campaign to motivate visitors to become monthly donors to support the children and adolescents in the areas of health, education, protection, and hygiene. This initiative was carried out during the celebration of Children's Day on September the 7th, the 8th, and 9th. The UNICEF teams approached tourists and provided information about the organization's work in Costa Rica and in the world. UNICEF has programs in many different countries to promote the rights of children and adolescents, as well as for women to enhance their full participation in the political, social, and economic development of their countries. 13 students from the Gil Gonzalez Davila School located in La Vigia de Nicoya participated in a guided tour at the Guanacaste Airport. This is so that minors could know the dimensions of the planes, the boarding process, and the day-to-day work in an airport. For the 4th and 5th grade students, it was only a great experience, but a great knowledge. On this visit, the students entered the plane, had a talk about takeoff, and were served as passengers. Also at Air Terminal, the minors were received by the fire team, where they attended an air rescue talk. With the intention of being able to visit more patients during the week, the respiratory care unit of the San Juan de Dios Hospital expands its home care hours. Starting on October the 2nd, they will be attending from 7 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon from Monday to Thursday, and on Fridays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. They visit patients who, due to their conditions, cannot be transferred to a medical center but require assistance for problems such as sleep apnea, filling oxygen tanks, or other breathing devices. This will really benefit the 1,200 plus patients living with these conditions. INAMO inaugurated their new facilities at the Central Pacific Regional Headquarters located in El Roble, Punta Arenas. This new building will provide specialized care to women from the nearby communities such as Lepanto, Paquera, Cobano, Quepos, Manuel Antonio, and the islands of the Gulf of Nicoya. The building has large care network training rooms with the capacity of up to 182 people and a computer lab for women who need to fill out forms online or receive care through these means. The walls of the building are a series of colorful murals alluding to the tireless work that the INAMO does in protecting Costa Rican women. The Care Plus Networking organized a conference to discuss the new measures to implement the long-term health care program for adults and for elderly in Costa Rica and in Latin America. The criteria on integral and dignified care was discussed, not only for the adults but also for those dedicated to care for them. Representatives from the Central American countries, France, Spain, Dominican Republic, Argentina, Mexico, and Uruguay were present and participated at this conference. Volunteers from public and private institutions volunteered in the canton of Cañas. They did activities such as planting near the roundabout located under the bridge on Route 1. The plants were donated by the Ministry of Public Works and Transportation. They also cleaned the streets under the bridge and managed to collect and sort all the ordinary and reusable waste that they found. Municipal officials and the Road Management Department also participated in this initiative and provided irrigation to the plants as well. The Integral Development Associations of San Joaquin and Acuyapa received the collaboration from the municipality of Nicoya to make improvements to the new infrastructure of their community centers. They were given construction materials to improve mainly the ceilings. The local government indicated that these community centers are essential for the socio-economic dynamics of these towns. September 11 is the 22nd anniversary of the terrorism attacks in the Twin Towers in New York City. 22 years ago, 4 planes hijacked by terrorists crashed into the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and a field in Pennsylvania. Nearly 3,000 people died in a matter of hours. This Monday, many people paused to remember the victims of the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, and reflect on the ongoing emotional toll the attack inflicted on the nation. Almost 3,000 people from 93 countries lost their lives that day. It is considered the worst attack on America's soil since the Japanese attack of Pearl Harbor in 1941. The Pentagon building has been restored and New York has a new World Trade Center, but the wounds remain. Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks gave the speech Friday remembering the victims. As someone who divinely remembers the course of my own steps here at the Pentagon that day, I can tell you, sharing these personal reflections remains difficult, Hicks told to the audience. She also highlighted the heroism of her colleagues and recalled that the doors of the Pentagon were reopened a day after the fires were extinguished. The collapsed corner of the building where the plane crashed was condoned off and work resumed. Hicks in turn called on adults to continue an intergenerational dialogue. Young Americans, she said, must be tough to appreciate how the events of 9/11 have changed the world around them, even if they were too young to remember or not yet born. This Monday, there will be a private celebration at the Pentagon Memorial for the loved ones of those who died in 2001. Friday's ceremony was for the public. President Joe Biden paid his respects this Monday at John Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska, a stop on his return trip from India's G20 summit and diplomatic meeting in Hanoi.
A different and fun podcast. From Monday to Friday at 3 p.m. and replay at 8 p.m. Political interviews, current affairs, sports, and conversation among friends. My program. Only here in TriVision Channel 36.
Captures the moment a 6.8 magnitude earthquake struck Morocco as a man runs for his life through rubble. It was a common scene last Friday as the quake shook parts of this North African nation. Morocco's public broadcaster SNRT released images of cars crushed by rubble, highlighting the challenges facing rescue workers. Much of the quake's damage was in mountainous regions where villagers had already begun burying their dead as of Saturday. And as Moroccans and tourists visiting their country took part in blood drives at area clinics, Morocco's King Mohammed VI ordered the nation's armed forces to mobilize search and rescue teams. He also called for special prayer services Sunday at mosques. Many Moroccans have been sleeping in the streets for fear of aftershocks destroying their already damaged homes. The United States and others have offered support to the government and people of Morocco.
We reached out immediately to the Moroccan government, made very clear to them that we are prepared to assist in any way that we can. We have the U.S. Agency for International Development, which takes the lead in our efforts, mobilizing, and we're waiting to hear from the Moroccan government how we can be of most assistance. But we're tracking this very carefully, and our hearts go out to the people of Morocco who suffered this devastating earthquake, and we stand ready to help in any way that we can.
For those living through the disaster, their government's efforts have not gone unnoticed.
Authorities are doing their best, and even like in the high Atlas Mountains where people lost their lives and where that earthquake hit harder, they're trying to help. And I'm very sure that our people, our Moroccan people and our Moroccan community can get together and we can go through this.
Morocco has not seen this powerful an earthquake since 2004, when a magnitude 6.3 quake killed more than 550 people in one of the country's poorer regions. Morocco's worst earthquake in modern times happened in 1960. It destroyed most of the popular tourist destination of Agadir and killed at least 12,000 people. Arash Arabasadi, VOA News.
Another 15,000 refugees are in camps outside the city, which was sealed off to let rescue workers.
The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken tried to reassure Ukraine on Sunday that it will continue to be supported by its Western allies. Russia, however, just had local elections in 4 Ukrainian areas it illegally annexed, and Moscow appears determined to expand its invasion.
Local elections were held Sunday in 79 Russian regions and 4 Ukrainian provinces illegally annexed by Moscow. The vote in the occupied regions has been strongly decried as a sham by Kyiv and its Western allies. Russian election officials said forces loyal to Kyiv tried to sabotage them. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who last week toured Ukraine, told ABC's This Week show that he doesn't see any indication that President Vladimir Putin wants to engage in meaningful diplomacy to end the conflict. Russia invaded Ukraine in February of last year.
Everyone wants this war to end, but it has to end on just terms and on durable terms that reflect Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Blinken highlighted the suffering that Ukrainian civilians regularly go through as a result of Russian attacks. He was asked whether the United States will send long-range missiles to Ukraine, which could reach deep into Russian territories.
It's not only the weapon system itself, it's are Ukrainians trained on it? Are they able to maintain it? Can they use it effectively as part of their strategy? And we are working on that every single day. In terms of their targeting decisions, it's their decision, not ours.
Last week, Russian presidential spokesman Dmitry Peskov dismissed the importance of U.S. support to Kyiv.
They intend to help Kyiv further as long as it is needed. In other words, they intend to support Ukraine further for as long as it takes, and to keep it, in fact, in a state of war, and continue waging this war until the last Ukrainian, sparing no expense on it. That's how we perceive it. We know this won't affect how the special military operation is going.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov hailed as, quote, an absolute success the recent summit of the group of the 20 most advanced and emerging economies in New Delhi. The summit's statement didn't explicitly condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but Blinken told ABC the support for Kyiv was there.
Countries are feeling the consequences and want the Russian aggression to stop. And I think the statement reflects the strong support that virtually every country in the G20 has for Ukraine.
Blinken also underscored how Russia's blockade of Ukrainian grain exports is exacerbating food insecurity worldwide. Moscow reiterated this weekend that its conditions to restart the so-called Black Sea Grain Initiative haven't changed. Verónica Valderas Iglesias, VOA News.
U.S. President Joe Biden has held his highest-level direct talks in months with the Chinese. The talks came during the recent summit of 20 of the world's largest economies in the New Delhi, India, during a historic visit to Vietnam. After that, Biden also said a comprehensive strategic partnership between the U.S. and Vietnam is not about containing China.
In response to a question from VOA, U.S. President Joe Biden said he met with Chinese Premier Li Qiang. while both attended the recent G20 summit hosted by India. At the news conference in Hanoi, Biden said Chinese President Xi Jinping's absence from the G20 talks may be a result of China's domestic economic crisis.
He has his hands full right now. He has overwhelming unemployment with his youth. One of the major economic tenets of his plan isn't working at all right now. I'm not happy for him that, but it's not working. So he's trying to figure out, I suspect, I don't know.
The U.S. leader said Washington does not want to contain China. Biden also said he doubts China's economic crisis would lead to an invasion of Taiwan. China considers Taiwan a wayward province and has never ruled out the use of military force to take full control of the self-governing territory.
I don't think it's going to cause China to invade Taiwan. As a matter of fact, the opposite, probably doesn't have the same capacity that it had before. But as I said, we're not looking to hurt China, sincerely.
The United States and Vietnam are elevating their relationship to that of a comprehensive strategic partnership, Hanoi's highest diplomatic status, as leaders from the two former rivals stand side by side. Washington and Hanoi still have disagreements over human rights issues, but China's sweeping territorial claims in the disputed South China Sea have been driving the U.S. and Vietnam closer, according to analysts.
So this isn't about picking the U.S. camp. It's about keeping the U.S. close to maintain balance with China. Vietnam views China on this issue the same way the U.S. does. That is, Vietnam views China as an aggressor, as a coercive, revisionist, rules-breaking power. And so when the U.S. talks about freedom of navigation and the rule of law, Vietnam fully agrees on this issue.
The U.S. is Vietnam's #1 export market. Biden's visit will also boost trade and investment between the two countries as the U.S. tries to build a supply chain that is less reliant on China. Nike Chin, VOA News, Seoul.
As news deserts spread across the U.S., trust breakers down. A police raid on Kansas newspaper underscored the important role local papers played in their hometowns.
A chilling raid that sparked a firestorm. That's how media across the U.S. and Europe described the raid last month on a small-town newsroom in the U.S. state of Kansas as police investigated a complaint by a business owner. But while the August 11th police action against the Marion County Record is relatively rare in the United States, analysts say that it underscores the role media play and how a decline in local news outlets is affecting communities. The raid comes as news outlets across the U.S., and particularly in the Midwest, are struggling to survive. The country has lost around 2,500 newspapers since 2005 and is set to lose another one-third by 2025, according to the Northwestern University Local News Initiative. Their closures often are the result of a hard economic climate and the rise in Internet use. The trend creates so-called news deserts, where towns no longer have dedicated regular coverage of municipal and regional affairs. With no reporters to cover city council or school board meetings, people lose a vital source of information, says Emily Bradbury of the Kansas Press Association.
So that's why the general public should care and why it is so important, is it is a true watchdog for the public as well as a way to inform the public about what is happening in their communities.
Newsroom raids are rare, but analysts are seeing a rise in lawsuits and seizures that they say are hard for smaller media outlets to push back on. Another issue, declining trust in journalism.
This is a bigger societal problem, that we have a real divergence of opinions on what is fact and what is opinion.
But in towns that still have a local newspaper, their role as public watchdogs matters. The Marion County Record has served its community for 154 years. It remains a family-owned and run newspaper.
Before this ever happened, our circulation was up, our ad revenue was up. There aren't very many newspapers that can say that. The reason it is we tried to be an honest-to-God newspaper.
The relationship between local outlets and the communities they cover is important, says Tim Stouffer of the Kansas Press Association.
A lot of these places are really, I don't know if I want to say ignored, but they don't get a lot of attention by, state and regional outlets. So who's left to tell these stories? Who's left to tell the first draft of history? Lives here are important. People matter. The relationships are unique.
Deb Groover, who reports for the Marion County Record, agrees.
Because being informed is important. And, who's going to cover a 2,000-person community other than a local newspaper? And a chain couldn't do this.
For some analysts and journalists, the Kansas raid served as a wake-up call on the importance of protecting local media. For Liam Scott in Marion, Kansas, Laurel Bowman, VOA News.
And this is all the information that we prepare for you. But before we leave, inspirational phrase. What does it say for today? For today it says, there is not greater agony than burying an untold story inside you. Who said that? Maya Angelou. And with this, we finish today's informative edition. But before I go, I want to remind you that wherever you are and whatever you are doing, have fun, take care. Also, if you have the chance, help someone. I am Ricardo Acuña, and I'll be so happy to see you next time.